Tokyo to compete on behalf of the United States in that particular sport within the Olympic rubric. And during the playing of the national anthem, which she was told was not going to happen when she was out on the field, that they were going to play the national anthem and then the athletes were going to come out. Well, that's not how it worked out. So she's out there with these other two, the national anthem plays, and she just turned to the side, so she's not, you know, essentially saluting the anthem. And so Dan Crenshaw goes on Fox and he says, we don't need any more activist athletes. She should be removed from the team. That should be a bare minimum requirement, is that you believe in the country you're representing. Yeah, doesn't that sound like really patriotic, right? Which raises the question, what is patriotism? Then Meghan McCain, she goes on The View and she says, it's not appropriate or patriotic to go to a foreign country, that would be, she's on her way to Tokyo, where you're supposed to be representing America and act like it's just about you. But Gwen Berry made it clear it wasn't about her. She told the Black News Channel, a CNN affiliate, she said, I never said I hated the country. I never said that. All I said is I respect my people enough to not stand or acknowledge something that disrespects them. Now, for Americans who don't, principally white Americans, who don't know what Gwen Berry is talking about here, let me just fill you in. Right? It's probably a good time for all of us to learn a little history lesson. Francis Scott Key, who wrote the national anthem, lived in Maryland. He was a Marylander. And he was a slaveholder. He owned slaves. And he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem. And he wrote it to celebrate the American victory of the War of 1812. And this was the victory at Fort McHenry in 1814, in September of 1814. Specifically, the battle at Fort McHenry was a battle between white American soldiers and a British corps of soldiers called the Corps of Colonial Marines, fighting on behalf of Great Britain. Now, who was the Corps of Colonial Marines that Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem celebrating the slaughter of? Well, the Corps of Colonial Marines originated in April of that same year, 1814, when British Captain James Ross issued a proclamation that was spread all through the state of Maryland, saying that any enslaved person who could flee their plantation and present themselves to British soldiers would be, and was willing to fight on behalf of the British in the War of 1812, would be given transportation to Barbados or England and freedom. And about 300 people successfully escaped slavery, 300 Africans. I guess at this point you could call them African Americans, although America certainly didn't recognize them as citizens. 300 Africans escaped slavery, presented themselves to the British, and that was the British Corps of Colonial Marines. It was a 100% black group of formerly enslaved people from Maryland. And Francis Scott Key, being a Maryland slaveholder, wanted to celebrate their being slaughtered by our troops. And so he wrote the third verse of the national anthem, and where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battles of confusion a home and a country should leave us no more? Now he's talking about the American soldiers. And then the next line, no refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And then back to, so, we slaughtered all 300 of those Maryland slaves who escaped and were promised freedom by the British if they would just fight in this one battle. And then Francis Scott Key, slaveholder Francis Scott Key, wraps up the third verse, or the third stanza of the national anthem with, go back to the white soldiers, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Which is kind of ironic, right? The land of the free. This is a history that Gwen Berry knows, as do many African Americans. It's a history that generally is not taught in our schools. I certainly didn't learn it in school. But it raises A couple of questions. You know, first of all, Gwen Berry, when she was asked specifically, you know, why did you do that? She said, if you know your history, you know the full song in the National Anthem, and the third paragraph speaks to slaves in America, our blood being slain all over the floor. It's disrespectful, and it does not speak for black Americans. So she said that. Which raises the second question, which I'm going to get into in just a couple minutes here in the second block of this half hour, which is, what is patriotism? If the right is accusing Gwen Berry of not being patriotic because she doesn't want to sing a song that celebrates the slaughter of formerly enslaved African Americans, what is?